Hey everyone, Pine Grove News Live from the East Coast, 6:01 p.m. here, and evening is here. Everything's covered up. I woke to here in the East Coast, southern New England, North Connecticut, to what seemed like just picture a little snowstorm during the night. Cars all covered with a couple inches of snow. Well, we didn't have that, but we had leaves come down. Um, I probably haven't seen leaves come down that much in one night ever. But in any case, it was a pile on all the cars, all the driveways. Eh, just weird. And while we have, high wind warnings, seems to be calm out there now. But November 2nd, 2018. By this time, I would be waiting for the town to come around and pick up my 78 bags of leaves. Now I have zero filled. What am I going to do about that? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. So, seriously thinking about just not doing the news at all tonight, because everything out there is basically the same old stuff and little things here and there that didn't require, looking into at all. I mean, everyday news about somebody or something somewhere along the way, that make these silly headlines. And, I don't know, I'd seriously just thought about not doing any of it, but I went looking, kept looking, and, I got some news here. I told you I was going to do one time maybe, Free Thought Project, okay? They do a lot of news stories about policemen. Well, cops. They're not policemen anymore. They don't police, they are cops. Mostly military trained, probably. Shoot first and, move on. But I don't know, maybe it'd be a little different tonight, some of these stories. It's just vile and pretty dark out there, And, as Christians in the know, eyes open, ears open. I mean, it's nothing new, but I don't know. And I would say if you let all these things go and you just live in the world and you don't live in the Holy Spirit, then you're in trouble. You'll get bogged down with this. You'll get depressed. You'll time will just slow down. In that case, it will slow down. Even though for everyone else it's speeding up, it'll slow down for a Christian. I'll learn to be in the Holy Spirit. I was listening to Dave Wilkerson today. I listened to him many times, but again, I listened to his sermon titled "How to Walk in the Spirit," and it's probably worth listening to. And I think it's labeled that. Just Google or YouTube David Wilkerson, "Walking in the Spirit." It's definitely a different day walking in the Spirit and just getting through the day and struggling in this dark world to get by. And then I wrote something last night, and when I read it again. I mean, it was pretty dark in some spots, but it was very insightful and praising God the whole time. Because if it wasn't for, my relationship with the Lord, as it should be with yours, we need relationships with the Lord. If it wasn't for that, I don't think I would be able to make it the way this crazy world is acting, and the way people, this good versus evil and evil versus good switcheroo. We have to be strong, and there's ways to do that. There's ways to do that. So I'm going to go through some of this news. All I can say is, keep praying. And yeah, I think that's probably my answer to most everything, to keep praying, because in those prayers, lies that relationship with God, with Jesus. And when you are walking in that spirit, there's not much that can harm you. Fiery darts all day, but you know what? If you're walking in the spirit, they'll miss you. They'll come close, but they'll miss you because you're protected. And He has so many promises, and we'll talk about those promises one weekend. But let's go on to some so-called news. How about this one? Deadly tornadic. This is what they're calling it in Australia. I mean, they're coming out with new names for tornadoes these days. I mean, tornadic. I've heard that term before, but brother in Northern California told me about another name they came out with, but I forgot it already. But anyway, these storms rip across the southern U.S. There are 2 dead and 100,000 homes without power. Extreme floods, hail, and it goes on to say, damn, hail, and tornado. Dam fail. I believe this was in Florida. No, this is in Arlington, Texas. But I heard that there were also tornadoes in Florida today. There were quite a number around that figure, 70, 80,000 without power. Thursday morning, officials monitored the Preston Wood Lake Dam they feared might fail in Arlington, Texas. Some pictures of tornadic damage. So it appears failure of the spillway may be imminent. The city of Arlington said in the announcement, adding that the failure was not expected to damage any homes if it happened. Dam fails, downstream culverts get clogged, and sediment and debris could then cause roads to flood. Now, we have leaves here. They block the sewers, and then they flood. So here's some more pictures. Arlington, Texas. In Mississippi, 19-year-old Jayla Gray of Jackson, a student of Alcorn State University, died Thursday morning as she hit a tree that fell onto Claiborne County Road. Well, they didn't do much with that right in there. The 3 people were injured Thursday morning in Washington Parish, Louisiana, when a likely tornado touched down early Thursday. 2 of the injured were hurt when a mobile home was destroyed by the storm of Bogalusa. A third injured in a home located about a mile away. None of the injuries were life-threatening. So tornado and wind damage. Radar confirmed tornado tore through parts of Natchez, Mississippi, early Thursday morning, down on power lines and prompting rescues, according to the National Weather Service. That's what's happening in our South. They tore up trees and old businesses that had been sitting a while. Everyone is without power. President of Port Bryant, Mississippi. Like a huge tornado. They have videos. So let's go on more from strange sounds. Fire floods are the new threat in California disasters. So Brett Larson, awoke at 4 a.m. to the shake and rumble of what felt like a freight train rolling down the hill towards his Santa Barbara County home. leaped from his bed and woke his two sons, and in seconds a wall of water, mud, and rocks slammed into his house, smashing through one window, then the next, then a third, pouring in as the trio sprinted to safety to the chimney at the home's far corner. He was lucky. I don't know if this is the house, but looks buried in a lot of rock and a lot of big boulders. 21 of his Ancieto neighbors were killed that January 9th, and 400 homes damaged or destroyed. 2 other people are missing, believed to be entombed somewhere in the now hardened mud that still covers parts of Mancieto, an upscale village next to Santa Barbara. I'm trying to figure out when the heck this story is. Dated yesterday, and they're talking about January 9th. Anyway, shows California entered in what experts call the fire flood era, a formidable 1-2 punch prompted by warmer temperatures, bigger wildland fires, and more intense winter rain dumps, even in drought years. Well, Northern California is not getting their rain this season so far, so I don't think they have to worry about that stuff unless it comes all at once. Maybe that's what they're planning. Who knows? Well, that would be World Watchman opinion. Yeah, that's what they're planning. Yeah. Drought. Anyway, here's that story. Fire floods, the new threat in California. Disasters, more than one. Talking about these temperatures, seems that everything is warming up. The oceans are heating up and not reflecting the heat as much. And that you saw the temperatures from the equator up into the Gulf of Mexico and the Pacific, and even around the Carolinas, a little further up. I mean, they had temperatures in the 90s in the water. I mean, that's bathwater. That's too warm. This article from the Big Wobble. We are facing a +3, 4 Celsius world and will condemn us to an uninhabitable planet. Oakland is the 3rd California city to declare a climate emergency. A lot of things are happening in California. So yesterday, the Big Wobble posted a frightened warning. Tipping point breached. The monarch butterfly has a 95% decline. Told you about that the last video. Since the 1980s in North America, 2/3 of all animals and insects extinct in 2 years. We read that same thing. What is going on here? 2 days ago. So last night, the city of Oakland followed Berkeley and Richmond, becoming the 3rd California city to declare a climate emergency, voting unanimously to pass a resolution endorsing a declaration of a climate emergency and requesting regional collaboration on an immediate just transition and emergency mobilization effort to restore a safe climate. How are you going to restore safe climate? Are you going to more weather modification, I guess. They can put themselves on the list because there's a lot of it apparently going on. So Oakland's vote marks growing regional momentum and a movement of cities to treat global warming as an emergency that it is. Yes, well, if indeed it is global warming and just not climate change, there is those differences. So, yeah, they're talking about week of warnings. Oceans soaking up more heat An estimated unbridled abuse has decimated our planet, and it's too late to fix it. First major quake of November belongs to Chile as a magnitude 6.2 strikes the Iquique area of the volatile quake country. I don't have to post that now. Let's go to Now the End Begins with this. I think the rest of these are just going to be, news as it comes. Both Brett Kavanaugh and Christine Blasey Ford have massive GoFundMe accounts, but only one donated it all to charity. Want to guess who? Come on, guess. I guessed right. Let me tell you something. Well, anyway, Brett Kavanaugh's GoFundMe page account raised over $600,000. While Ford's account raised a whopping $840,000 and still climbing. That's just a crazy amount of money to suddenly appear in your bank account. Yeah. And I'm sure that the vast majority of people reading this feel the same. You can pay off mortgages with that, pay off the kids' college with that. It's life-changing money. It is. For me, what did Kavanaugh and Ford do with it? Well, all those of you who said Brett Kavanaugh donated all of it, that's what happened. Donated all of it to charity. Didn't take a penny of it. Interesting to note that even though he's a Supreme Court justice, there are no ethics rules barring him from keeping it, so he certainly could have. And Christine Blasey Ford is already a millionaire career woman and jet-setting world traveler. She talked about how she hated to fly, but she did a lot of it to go to her different, whatever you called it, vacations across the world, around the world. Before the hearings began, she told you about a couple of them, and she did not like to fly. Definitely wanted, the lawyers and senators and to come to her house so she wouldn't have to fly. I think she just did too much of it and was tired of having to add one more trip. But there you go. So, as far as we know, Ford has not made even a token donation to any women's groups, shelters, or halfway houses. Not a single penny. That's in the news. And yeah, George Soros is in the news again. People want him to stop interfering. This also from Now the End Begins. President Trump shatters jobs records for the 12th time as a whopping 156,562,000 are employed in the workforce. Where? I mean, I've seen the jobs decline over the past 8 to 12 years quite a bit, and those numbers were definitely fudged. Anyways, there were a lot of people out of work, and most of those people have not found work. So, whatever. He is, Mr. Trump, of course, is he will pat himself on the back. Okay, more times than not. As I said, I used to have a brother that did that a lot too. As far as sports are concerned, he was a big, sports fanatic, I guess. Soccer, baseball, whatever he did. And whatever he did pretty good at. He was pretty good at it. Maybe I was a little jealous about that, but I did play football when I was young too, and we did pretty good that year. We won a championship. I remember I was only 12 years old, but didn't go back the following year. Anyway, there were stories to tell about that were pretty, pretty good year. It was a pretty good year. And I met some friends. So anyway, let's go. We'll be hearing a lot from Trump. Some viruses out there. This is from Ship Plan. Adenovirus outbreak. 10th child dies in New Jersey. I don't know if, obviously, if I'm saying that right. Looking to see why my YouTube, it's just buffering like crazy. So I don't even know if I'm on live on YouTube. For me, it's just buffering and buffering. I don't know. Yeah, that's over at PGN Live. Go over there and check it and see if it's working. So, let's see. In the meantime, this virus, an adenovirus outbreak in the New Jersey Rehabilitation Center, I think we talked about this last week, has now claimed its 10th life, another child. So far, at least 27 children have been linked to the outbreak at the Wanacue Center for Nursing and Rehabilitation, Haskell, New Jersey, Department of Health said. The viruses causing this outbreak are found on unclean surfaces and medical instruments. Although they may not be eliminated by common disinfectants, they rarely cause severe illnesses in healthy people. Well, you know what the answer to that is? Clean the damn place. I mean, come on, people. They're going to say it's, mostly found on unclean surfaces and medical instruments. You boil the instruments and you clean everything else. And I'm talking about in the corners, okay? Even in the areas that you have to look to see, you got to clean them. I'm working for a nursing home right now, and I'm doing a lot of painting. And in a lot of places, I mean, they have not ever, since they opened the apartments, dusted below, on top of the molding on the carpet, that goes around the bottom of the room. The molding, it's littered with dust on top of it. Dead people's skins. That's what dust is. We are dust. And we create a lot of it. Always wondering, I wondered one time, house all sealed up all through the winter, don't open a crack except to go out and come in real quick. How can dust possibly just, come out of nowhere? I mean, there's no real movement of air at any time, except for the furnace, and that's usually, to vent out. In any case. Yeah, dead skin. That is what a lot of the dust is. Nasty, huh? In any case, DARPA seeks FAA approval for military drones over cities. You can thank Obama for that one. Just a little over 10 years after drone surveillance inside U.S. borders was declared a conspiracy theory, it is now an indisputable fact of life. So too are military-grade drones along the border, which in reality constitutes a 100-mile wide swath that encircles the continental United States and 2/3 of its population. Wow. Yeah, and what was it? It was they started doing that, registering drones. Even if you got a toy drone, okay, I guess it's basically to generate revenue, I believe, because it costs you $5. You have to register your toy drone. And now I know the other people have bigger drones, and I don't know when it becomes a toy to whatever, a hazard to people. And I've seen a lot of them operate. I seen one guy when I was watching the fireworks a couple years ago. This guy, across the street from where we were watching it, was flying his drone. You could tell, obviously, because you hear it coming down and sitting up there and just, the propellers just spinning around. I mean, it wasn't loud, but you could definitely hear it. It had this red light on it, so it was kind of eerie. But he was filming the fireworks from that vantage point. I thought that pretty cool. I like to do something like that, I like to take pictures, and especially if I can get them, up in a view like that. You used to have to pay people to get views like that, aerial views of properties and stuff like that you're going to buy. People pay good money for that. Now you can just go fly a drone over it. But anyway, according to the new report from Defense One, this level of access is still seen as a restriction by the DARPA-directed military apparatus. As new forms of autonomous aircraft take to the skies, such as the latest Black Hawk helicopter drones that could be ready by 2019, next year, DARPA and aircraft developers want permission to fly over large cities as needed. I say no. The hell you need DARPA military aircraft flying over U.S. cities? Unless you're going to let in these freaking 7,000 immigrants from down south and put them into a city somewhere or spread them out over other cities, and now you have 7,000 terrorists waiting to freaking set off bombs. And then, maybe that's what they want. For that very reason. How else? Another form of controlling and manipulating your life and what you can do, say, or where you can be, where you can go. That's I've always thought that they were doing that anyway. Anyways, FCC clarification to fly a large unmanned aircraft within the continent. Okay, I already heard that. Yeah, $5 to register your freaking toy drone. The state of Connecticut will think they'll charge or come up with a fee that you have to pay them. For next thing they're going to look into hobbies that we have. They're going to find with all these smart devices what you're doing inside your home. Some hobby they don't know about, and they'll find a way to make you pay a fee to do that. That's what's happening here in Connecticut. Everything is being taxed and fined and feed. Ever since they came out with a $25 fee, and that was quite a number of years ago, to go fishing, in my backyard, that was a problem. Yeah, $25 just for a fishing license. And they charge more if you want to go out and do other kinds of hunting. Or ocean fishing, which is more. Whatever. $25. And that's a year, and it's not a lifetime, to go fishing. What gives them the right? They think they own everything. That's the problem. That and the government. So, from the newswires.com, Judicial Watch demands criminal investigation into Soros funding of Caravan. There you go, folks. Look at this. Got a picture of a big tractor trailer with a flatbed. And looks like a 100 or so sitting on it, getting rides. I heard that they are only about 800 miles away. That can be made up pretty darn quick. Figure it would take me, 78? Took me an hour and a half to drive 78 miles. That's what I usually drove to go to the beach every year. So, hour and a half to drive 78 miles. Round that off to 100. Say, 2 hours for 100 miles. So, you're talking 8. So, 16 hours. Drive 800 miles. They could be here tomorrow morning. Yeah, they could. So in any case, we've only got, I think it was 500 that we sent down there, and there are more coming, 1,500 coming shortly after that. So anyway, this judicial watch called for criminal investigation of George Soros' funding of this migrant caravan. Wonder who was doing that. He's taking other countries down. We all know that. We've heard about the stories. Yeah. In any case, that is still buffering, so I don't know why. I'll refresh that page and see if it's me. Oh, okay, looks like I'm up there live. Could have been my PC. I don't know why. Refreshed it, and so it's working now. But oh well. So I hope that they do have some kind of, get him in there. I mean, there's other countries that don't want him in their countries anymore because of what he's doing. He should be put aside, put in his own little town somewhere, and not be let out. He doesn't have much longer to live, so I mean, he's just interfering. Yeah, not for the good. Also from newswire.com, pharmaceutical company charged following hospital baby deaths. So a London-based pharmaceutical company is facing criminal prosecution following the deaths of babies at several British hospitals. Representatives from the ITH Pharma will appear in court in December charged with supplying a contaminated feed-in drip to premature babies between May 27th and June 2nd, 2014. 3 babies died and another 20 needed treatment after contracting septicemia, blood poisoning. Yeah, we still have that record amount of payout to, I forget who actually got it, the millions, almost, going after Monsanto's. And I'm sure that they'll probably do the same thing like they did with the Phillips company. Philip Morris, I believe, the tobacco company. When they finally had to come out and admit that they had their tobacco was, laced with chemicals and made to become addictive to people so that they would keep having to buy them. Yeah, and then they were sued quite a bit, but they made an agreement with the courts, I guess, Supreme Court, and with the states, that they wouldn't be able to be sued anymore. But if somebody wanted to go after them, they would give each state a certain amount of money to go and do whatever they thought was in, I don't know, their best interest to help that person, whatever. And I don't see that money doing anything. Maybe I should call my state of Connecticut and say, hey, I'm going to sue the Philip Morris company through you. Because I've been addicted for many, many years. Don't think I can stop. It's been too long. Besides the, habitual part, which is, having to pick one up every morning and one every night before I go to bed. Those things we could probably break. That's just habits, habits can be broken. It's hard to teach an old man new tricks, but he can learn them. This may take a little longer. Right. So I am seriously thinking about going to them because I think it would take, in order for me to stop smoking, I think it would take at least 30 days in some hospital somewhere in a straitjacket and whatever. I think I could do it then. filled with Melorel or whatever they give you to calm you down. Yeah, that's what it would take, I think. Maybe even more than a month, but I did quit once, 2010. 3 weeks because somebody told me. I read a book, actually. A friend bought a book for me. And that's, they were pretty good friends. We used to bowl with them for years. And so she bought this book, How to Stop Smoking. I read it and I quit smoking. All the way up till 3 weeks, till they said that that's all I needed. I needed 3 weeks, and then it would be done and over. Well, 3 weeks were up. I didn't smoke for 3 weeks. But after the 3 weeks, I don't know what triggered it, what happened exactly. It's all a blur. But I'm back smoking, of course. I don't know. Get enough prayers and enough of, faith on my part. I already told the Lord that I can't do it. That I'm too invested, man. I mean, 47 years. I mean, I'm surprised I'm not dead with it. But in any case, yeah, a very big problem. You know, I have problems just like everyone else. Let's move on. Well, I don't know what this is besides, look at this. Monsanto's cancer-causing weed killer now found in pet food. Yep, pet food. I guess I'm on the, I just lost everything. That's pretty neat. How'd I do that? This touchpad on this laptop is getting very finicky these days. I'm kind of resting my hand over it while I'm using my fingers, and it's for sure is doing things. But anyway, the active herbicide ingredient in Monsanto's weed killer Roundup has permeated our food chain, according to 2 new studies. Designated carcinogenic by some health authorities, glyphosate has now been found in over 40 pet foods. There you go, folks. We're not the only ones being poisoned. Our lovely and dear animals that, are our best friends are also being poisoned. I mean, why? I have, sometimes I just don't understand this stuff, We see this stuff, we have data on this stuff, and why aren't we doing anything about it? Why aren't we putting somebody like Monsanto's out of business? I mean, we obviously have to come up with some other way to protect the crops without poisoning the people. What's the sense of growing the crops for the people to eat if they're going to die from the chemicals that you spray on it? Well, they have a plan. That's their plan, okay? They don't want you to. Anyways, my philosophy is, and there's proof all around, between the fluoride in the water and the poisons and the prepackaged foods, and why we sending, foods to be prepackaged and, prepped to our enemies in China and then sent back here so we can eat it. Yeah, something's up with that. Yeah, so, sometimes I get all this all at once. The little skit that they're running, the play that we see in our media and in our televisions. It's not what's going on. Other things are going on. And yes, we have to have a war because the war machine has to be fed. Now, it's time, it's due. And we thought the bully was going to be North Korea, but it turns out that it may be, China, Russia, Iran, maybe even Turkey. Who knows? We may even lose this one. Yeah, go figure. You ever seen the TV show let's see, what was it? Jericho. I'd advise you to go to Netflix, wherever. Well, don't go to Netflix because they're just demonic, but I think most of it's tied to Hollywood is anyway. But Jericho, it's not a bad show, but it will tell you about a futuristic event that could possibly take hold. And that is nuclear weapons being set off in America. It wasn't China. Okay, and the struggle, without power in the beginning, and the factions that spring up from the political arena being disintegrated. Very, very interesting. Seems to be playing out in our mainstream and our alternative media streams. And there's that threat with that Illuminati cards of those nuclear weapons at any time. A lot of stuff happening right now. And then this other stuff, I think we've already talked about this. The next generation of warfare, genetically engineered viruses. Yeah, we know that they're out there because, antibiotics are resistant to them. So they're, these things go on, and I'm just going to go through a bunch of these next ones. Well, we know about that. Genetically modified. Genetically modified. Okay, just remember that because it's on your food. It's on the packages that you eat. It's on the granola bars, the Natural Valley, different granola bars. Okay, look on there. It says that on there that some of the contents may have been genetically modified. What it says, I'll send you a darn picture of it. Go look for yourself on your granola bar package. Usually the very last thing on the bottom of that white panel. GMO. In your Natural Valley, you think you're eating right with these granola bars. Look at the ingredients before they allow them to not put them on. There's some that don't have to put them on, and they don't. Yeah, this is from these next four from the Free Thought Project. Okay, the one that mainly puts videos out there about these, what's going on with these cops, who they killing now, and for what. It's very sad, some of the stories that come out there that these police, just whenever they feel like it, or whenever they're go to a call and they feel threatened in any way, and even when they're not threatened, they just go and outright kill people. Anyway, and then you got this Hillary video out here. They all look alike. That's what Hillary called some people. Hillary cracks an incredibly racist joke and gets a pass from the PC police. Yeah. She down at the bottom. Here's what happened. It's only a minute and a half, but I really don't even like looking at her face, so I'll leave you the link. She's an evil person. Elderly grandma, okay, battling cancer, attacked and arrested for asking for a search warrant. Be careful what you ask the police or what you don't allow them to do. I used to watch a lot of videos of those people 50 miles from the border, okay, being pulled over into checkpoints asking for people's identification. We're a free country. We're allowed to travel in and out of our country through states without having to show papers. This is not Nazi Germany. There's a lot of people that, set up these checkpoints and do this, and it's just illegal. It's been going on for a while. But anyway, this grandma was basically was brutally assaulted by police after she asked them for a search warrant to enter her home. In Greensville, South Carolina, 62-year-old grandma suffering from cancer. The alleged victim Cassandra Johnson had never been in trouble with the police before this week, but that all changed when she was thrown in the Greenville County Detention Center for attempting to flex her rights. And the police, they were at the Johnson's residence on Monday about 5 a.m. 5 a.m. to serve an arrest warrant to her son, Julius Johnson. However, according to Cassandra, Julius was not there and has never lived there. Anyway, Johnson asked for a search warrant. However, the police explained an arrest warrant was sufficient in this case. So an arrest warrant is sufficient enough to go break into somebody's house and beat an elderly woman. So anyways, Johnson said when she wouldn't move aside, the officers threw her on the ground and handcuffed her. She said her other son, Jermaine Johnson, was home and was yelling at the officers that his mother has stage 4 cancer. Anyways. These cops, they don't care about anybody else. I mean, this is the typical evil, demonic source or whatever spirit that is in people. Okay, whether it was, whether the Lord gave them these things or whether they just allow these things to happen to them. And then, here you have it. And that's another report. U.S. aid report shows hundreds of millions of U.S. humanitarian aid actually funded terrorist groups. Yeah. Well, we know about that stuff. We know how ISIS was basically supplied during the Iraq pullout. Okay. Something we never, ever do. At least I've never, ever heard of, the military leaving their equipment behind. They either disable them or they take them with them. They don't just leave them there with the keys in them. That was Mr. Obama. Damning report from the U.S. aid shows that over $700 million in supposed humanitarian aid money have actually ended up in the hands of terrorists. You remember that when they were dropping aid packages to the, what do you call them? Remember the Kurds? Was it the Kurds who were in the north of Iraq? You remember that? And we were trying to supply them to fight the Iraqis. But there was also other Kurds that were in and around Turkey and the fighting that was going on there afterwards. I remember these drops landing in the terrorist hands and not in the Kurds' hands. I think that was obviously done on purpose. It's military. They make mistakes, but they don't make too many of them. So that's that story. So last story from them. Cops arrested for beating and spitting on 2 Latino teens, telling them, "Welcome to the white man's world." I don't get that. I don't get it. Somebody needs to explain that to me. And one more thing while I've got it. If anybody could explain this to me. First of all, I don't know what LGBT stands for. I don't know what the initials mean. What does it mean? Somebody tell me what the LGBT, what those letters stand for. What was the last letter? Transgender? I don't know. But Latinos, they're white. What color does everybody think that they are? I don't get that part. I've seen a lot of Latinos. They're, I wouldn't say they're fair-skinned. I mean, I'm not fair-skinned in the summertime. I burn and then brown for the rest of the freaking summer. But Latinos, I mean, they're white. Aren't they? Somebody tell me. Because the ones I work for are white. They're not brown. So what's up with that? Welcome to the white man's world. Really, Latinos. Okay, so I don't get it. Well, that's going on there. I don't want to talk about this rest of this Facebook crap and this Twitter crap. Um, it's just worth talking about. This is worth talking about, though. In these caravans, DHS, okay, Department of Homeland Security, 270 convicted criminals. I guess that's not bad if you consider that there's now only 7,000, and obviously there's a one or two more caravans after that with another 1,500. So 270 convicted criminals and 20 nationalities. That's the big thing. How does there end up being 20 nationalities in the caravan? I mean, they talked about people, let's see, where did they come from? Shot. Come on, man. Trying to figure out not just Mexicans and also, Hondurans, those countries in the Central Americas, but I saw a partial list here somewhere in here, and I can't find it when I need it. That's just obvious. Oh yes, 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 and then they're yeah. This is what Trump said. This is and I agree with him totally about because these caravan migrants threw rocks at the Mexican police that were trying to stop them, and that scared them away, I guess. Trump claims that he's not going to let them throw rocks at him because that is considered a weapon. He is considered not a weapon. See, they're talking about. Um, Trump was asked if the military personnel might fire on the caravan. Of course, they might fire. It depends on what happens. They're not told to go down there and shoot somebody. Of course, you never know what would happen. So in any case, but he said goes on to say, I will tell you this. Anybody throws stones, rocks, like they did to the Mexico and the Mexican military and Mexican police, where they badly hurt police and soldiers of Mexico, we will consider that a firearm. Good to know. And I think they better be told. Yeah, that is a weapon. It most certainly is a weapon. How would you like to have a freaking, a rock the size of a palm of somebody's hand landing on your head? Who knows how many miles per hour when it's thrown. That could kill you. I mean, look what happened to, David. David killed Goliath with a stone. One stone. Of course, he had four more stones for his brothers, but he only needed one. One stone to kill a giant. So, my take on that. Google accused of illegal contributions to pro-amnesty campaigns. Who knows? I'm sure Soros has a good portion of his money into Google as well. Who knows? Maybe he's the co-founder. I don't know who's a co-founder. I'm just taking a guess. Anyways, that's it, folks. That's all we got. And it was pretty hard to put out. See this stuff every day, every day, every day. Okay, even when I'm not doing the news, I see it every day. I have a call that I get every day to remind me of it every day. And I don't know. I'm almost to the point where I'm getting kind of numb to it, to whether I really don't care about it. I mean, I never really cared about it. If you really put that much emotion into it, then there's a problem. But in any case, my thoughts are elsewhere mostly, and to have my thoughts turned to this garbage and the terrible things that are happening in this world with the weather, and the earth alone being shook up. The people have been shook up a long time ago, and they're just getting worse, and it will get worse. But And so with with that on your mind that it will get worse, it will. But see, you have to be stronger. You have to get stronger. We get stronger by walking in the Spirit. That's it. You said, Jesus lives in us. And if Jesus lives in us, the Spirit is in us. He said he's going to leave the Comforter. Okay? That Comforter is the Holy Spirit. That's Jesus. Okay? We can have that too, just like the apostles. Yep, we can have it too. In steps, we will get there. But in the meantime, people, just hold on to your family, keep them close, love them, and forgive them. Always forgive them. Jesus said to forgive 70 times 7. I know it's hard sometimes, but after a while, Jesus said he forgives all, past, present, and future. I hope that we can too. Sometimes it's difficult, but we can. We can too. Because we are in him and he is in us. But anyways, God bless everyone. It's Friday, so happy Sabbath. That started as the night fell, the sun fell, and I will hopefully see you over the weekend. Talk to you later. Peace out.